Hello and welcome to our weekly Genlock review on Anime Dumpster Dive. I'm your host, Jake H. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
And our guest on these videos, Coby from Nerdblaze.
Hello. Happy to be here. I just felt like I needed to add a happy to be here because Anthony said hello, so I had to be a little different.
You guys had to separate yourselves that way.
Yeah. Ooh-wee, the boys
Separate
are back.
ourselves like separate holons.
Ooh.
I was going to say something. You guys had to
Thanks for the
differentiate
pity.
yourselves. So today's episode we're going to be talking about is episode 5, which is Best Defense?
Yes.
It's a good offense.
The best defense is a good offense, which I just now got because their operation this episode was an offensive operation. So, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite thing about these episodes, one of the favorite things about them, are the titles. They're all great titles. I mean, going back to, the best defense, last one was Training Days with like a Z instead of a days. It's cool.
Second Birthday was a very good title as well. Yeah, they're
Pilot instead of pilot. I mean, wow, give the show an award for naming.
Is that an award?
I'm making it one.
You're making
Best
it one.
episode list.
Episode naming goes to Genlock for
There's
2019.
a million lists out there. I think one can be made about episode titles.
It's a good one.
So this episode is actually filled with a lot of stuff and a lot of things I'm looking forward to talking about. So let's start off with something that I think Coby really wanted to talk about earlier on, is the modding of the mechs.
Yes,
we get some upgrades, and I'm really excited to see like that in between step from the mechs that we got at the beginning to the mechs that we get at the end of the intro, where they're like more Gundam looking.
Mm-hmm. When did you predict that we were going to have those full on robots?
I was thinking episode 6. But now I'm thinking that we'll probably just get like an ending shot of them on episode 8.
It's like, we're finally here, ready to go. Man, I don't even need those full mods. I mean, I'm happy with these half mods of each one getting their own special item. I mean, I'm happy with that. That mold me over, if I'm using that word correctly.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm excited to see where they go from here. I honestly thought that they were going to focus a little more on, kind of the development of like Cammy's size, like first and foremost. But then they just went with drones. I thought that was like the weakest one. I don't know.
I have to agree. I thought like everyone else, we kind of got an idea of what they would use. And I thought, actually, Cammy's thing was being able to hack things from far away.
Mm.
And then she busted out the drones. I was like, oh, I thought it was the hacking. But drones are cool, too. But when I thought it was the hacking, I was really excited. I was like, oh, she can hack things from far away. And then I was like, oh, and drones. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Drones are cool.
Well, that's nice. I mean, and all of these items, I like them. They're cool individual things for each one to have. But I didn't really see like a lot of like how it plays into their past. Like, did we ever see Kazu like fight with a sword in like everyday life? Like, how did we know he was really adept at sword fighting? Like, that was like, it was cool because him with his sword was awesome. But I would have liked more of a nod to how he fights in real life is with a sword. So they give him a sword, type of thing.
Yeah. I'd say to that kind of point, this show, I mean, it airs on the side of being a little more intuitive itself. So, I mean, we basically get the prime example of this when Chase, he has the the jet wings on the side of his mech. So, I mean,
that was perfect.
Like, I can only assume, at this point that was their intention. It's like, well, Kazu, he's a martial artist because we see him fight with his fists. And then, he's also pretty adept with using a sword as well. And, well, Valentina, she loves shooting. So
we got her a rock. Yeah, I would have loved it if Kazu said his same line from like the pilot. It's like, it's like, I've never read manga. I haven't read manga in years. If they're like, I've never used a sword before. You racist.
Kazu's
like,
just
I don't know how to
constantly
use
going
this.
against it.
Yeah. I like that.
I played the
would have
guitar. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean I know how to use a sword, guys.
That would have been funny.
I think Yasmin's was weird because she gets wrist-mounted lasers, but now that I think about it, I guess she needs her arms open because she's a hand-to-hand combat like specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, I guess that gives her, range attacks without taking up her, hands. So I can understand that.
I thought Valentina already had a rifle.
She had, a regular standard issue giant sniper rifle. I guess they gave her a better giant
better one?
sniper rifle.
I'd be
this one
pissed off.
shoots laser
Kazu's got a
beams.
brand new sword. It's like, oh, I get another rifle that shoots slightly stronger bullets. I mean, I want something else.
That one shoots lasers. This...
And just because Cammy has targeting drones doesn't mean that should eliminate the option for all of them. I mean, they should all have targeting drones, if we're being honest. I mean, that just makes all of life a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
And same with wrist-mounted lasers. I mean, that's just a little feature that should be built into every robot.
And it's not even like they are sparse on resources, because Cammy fought 15 of those drones at once in that training montage. Right.
They're all there. They have the pieces.
Yeah, everyone has to be an individual.
Wings on a gigantic robot. That's pretty useful for a lot of robots. Give them all the ability to fly.
I will make the argument that since the other ones probably have no experience with flying, that would be a harder curve to learn.
Dr. Weller has no qualms about throwing untrained people into the gen. Look at Cammy. Cammy just sits in front of a computer. She's like, oh, now she's going to be a warrior.
I do like that he went, let's grab this fucking basement nerd hacker and put her in a giant robot and throw her right into the battlefield right away. 2 days of training.
Because they're DNA matches.
Perfect.
Because she's one of the superior ones that's going to lead this generation into my evil plan later on in the series.
Hey, listen here.
You and your Dr. Weller's evil theory.
Yeah, what the heck?
It's going to stick. I'm going to die on that hill.
I hope, Coby's Dr. Weller theory is kind of petering out, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's not doing so well.
My crazy theory from the first episode is only gaining speed, and I'll get to that when we do our hot takes section.
Ooh, teeth.
Oh, that Chase's mom is the bad guy?
Yeah, I hope you guys are ready for when I go full on, who's that guy who thought the frogs were turning people gay or stuff? Alex Jones. When I go full on Alex Jones.
What?
It's a whole thing.
That was a reach.
That guy's
yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
And so,
This is also a man who told people to put filters on their shower heads because they were putting fluoride and brain.
Well, everyone knows
brain
that.
chemicals.
They're doing that. Obviously, are you telling me you guys don't have shower filters on your shower, guys? There's fluoride in it, or fluorine, whatever you say, whatever it is, it's in there.
Oh, who knows?
Speaking of things that mess up your memory or mess up your mind, we found out this episode that they can actually go inside their mindscape and alter their personalities,
pretty easily.
Yeah, pretty easily.
It's like if you pause the game and go to settings. I thought, as a hacker, Cammy would have to do a little bit of more work and leg work in order to, hack into the blueprint. No, it's super easy. It's just all right there.
Yeah, she hit the start button.
I was going to ask you guys about how you felt about this particular scene, just because when we talk about how shows like to really shove certain plot devices down your throat, or to try to teach you just by holding the book right in front of you. I was going to ask how you guys felt about this particular scene, because personally, there were points where I felt a little left, that particular scene. I don't know. I guess I didn't personally feel like it was done as intuitively. It was kind of just something that I felt was there were a lot of unanswered questions in my book, as far as the way I interpreted that. But
for me, I would have liked that more if we had even more of a focus on it. It just felt like such a small part of the episode, but that we had to shift aside to get to the mods and the big robot fight at the end, which is tough when you only have 8 episodes. But this is. I really would have liked the show. I know it's asking for a lot, but it's for a Cammy-centric type dig into her character about what's making her want to increase her stats and having a real breakthrough into why she shouldn't do that. This was more she was doing that and Dr. Weller's no, it's bad. Here's some cool stuff for you. And they're ooh, shiny. But it's I would have preferred more of more of a through line with Cammy from start to finish with this episode about what she's going through. But I understand that's difficult because this is a kind of a beautiful animated show and want to see robots fighting, and you can't really fit that into an episode. But that's just the element of it that I didn't like as much. I like the idea of it, they just didn't follow through with it. I just really should just start with my short synopsises first before I just ramble.
I'm the same way.
I personally think it's maybe I might be thinking too much about it, but I think it 100% is a setup for one of them to like get in a fight with that robot, that like the big bad robot, and get alone with it. And so when they're not in the team, like you can tell they're weaker against fighting that thing. So I think someone's going to mod themselves mid-fight, and to the point where they risk overclocking.
You can't do it. It's too dangerous. I have to.
Yeah, like one of those ones. It sounds cliche, but I think that's what they were alluding to. Like, yeah, it was a plot device that I think, like Coby said, was very underdeveloped to get to other things. But I think it was like that seed of a future plot point that we're going to get to.
Now, if they just do that in the ether, then both of these early plot points that they set up that didn't have a lot of follow through will come to fruition. So
Yeah. So I brought them up earlier, or brought them up, or whatever we're going to call it. I'm going to call it Big Bad Robot Man. No, doesn't roll off the tongue. Sparky
It
Boom
does.
Man.
I'm good.
Robot man.
Yeah, you're right. We all got to break out in song now. Thanks a lot, Jake.
So the Big Bad Robot.
Man.
Sorry. What have I wrought in this world? He shows up at the end of this episode after a very beautifully animated fight scene, and I feel like a broken record because every like action sequence I just have to constantly praise, and then constantly, and I feel bad about this because I'm a big fan of Ruby, but I have to constantly shit on Ruby because this one does animation so much better, like the action so much better than recent seasons of Ruby. Just because, again, I feel the weight of all these. I feel the weight of the mechs fighting. I feel the weight of like the explosions. I just like I love the fights. I love the action sequences.
Agreed.
I agree. I agree as well. I think the biggest thing that I would have liked to see, though, is I know that these are supposed to be like prototypes, and Dr. Weller like went out on, he went as far to kind of stress that as well. So I would have liked to see the gear kind of breaking, like Julian falls on his back, like, and he's wearing wings that attach to his back. Like, what? You're telling me robots don't break things?
Not these robots.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, honestly, that would have been a better plot point for why Julian lets the robot escape, is if he tries to fly after it, his wing is broken because he did fall on his back, but instead he just lets it fly away.
Because he's in shock.
I'm like, Julian, you have wings. You have wings.
Ah, there he goes. He's slightly out of my reach. Yeah, maybe me.
So, yeah, but the robot does something different this episode. It actually does a few things that I thought were pretty weird. I had to watch it twice to really even make out anything that it says. But when Miranda and Cammy get stopped, it says I think it says Miranda.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it says Miranda, and then Cammy says something, and then he says like another thing. And the reason I keep using he for the big bad robot is because I think it sounds like a distorted Julian.
Absolutely, I rewound that too, and I thought about that because I was like, that's Michael B. Jordan's voice, isn't it? That's totally him. And I rewound it a few times, and I agree with that. I think it is him, and that's what had him shocked. It wasn't entirely clear, like not like 100%, like this is definitely him, but I think it was, which is I guess an interesting twist because what we were thinking that coin flip dude was
like
going to be.
Real Sinclair was going to be.
Yeah, Real Sinclair's like, oh, he's going to be, because his mind is trapped, or fake or someone was in there. It's like, I would not expect Julian subconscious. I don't even know. See, that opens up so many questions, and that's a good cliffhanger.
So, that like the dialogue too, that like of some of the things that he said, and just like kind of talking about needing to go back and rewatch it. There's like one point in time too where he's like saying something about how Cammy doesn't shut up. She hasn't shut up since her birthday.
Yeah.
Did you hear that part?
Yeah, I heard that too. And I was like, what?
Yeah, like I don't know. It just leaves so much. That's what I love so much about this show, though, is that it just creates so many more questions, and not in a way that's like that. What? But why? More so, like it just leaves me craving more answers to like the things that they show us on screen. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next episode. Please tell me what the hell's going on.
Another thing it also says, at least what I interpreted it as, was he calls Julian a copy, or he says that's a copy, or he goes, you're a copy. Like,
so that's an interesting idea. If the real Julian survived that plane crash, or maybe even the real Julian was bad that we didn't know about, and then this one is a copy that Dr. Weller made, that or something, and that he's using the copy to be his subconscious, or Dr. Weller in his evil ways copied, because he copies Julian's subconscious and uses it to program these robots, or at least somebody is, maybe not Dr. Weller.
I don't know. It feels a little. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
I was like, sorry, hot take section, you're gonna have to wait because we're talking about this now, and I'm gonna bring it up, and this is mine. First episode, I said Julian's mom is part of the, what are they called?
It's the Vanguard,
the
and
Union.
The Union.
She's part of the Union. I believe she's one of the Union's top scientists, and that she has created a copy of Julian's personality and put it into that robot, because they know that he was a top pilot, so they needed a top pilot for that robot. So she puts it in the robot, and that's how come Sinclair, when he shows up and he sees Julian in the pod, goes, I know somebody who's going to be really interested in knowing that you're here. So that's what I'm saying. Again, look at this evidence I am throwing at you guys. Come on.
That is, you know what? It's a good argument. Not as good as Dr. Weller's back, but it still has a lot of merit. I don't know, but okay. So is this Julian the one that we see in the pod? Is that the real Julian?
I think
that's
the real
in your
one.
theory. And
I think it is,
the robot is the copy.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go against the grain just to disagree. I'm going to say that Julian is a fake. Our Julian's not the real Julian, and he's going to have to grapple with the fact that he's, a copy of the real self, and then find his person there.
Do you think that's going to be too much, though, to get, like, he not only is he a copy,
so much.
but he's also a copy of a half-man?
Yeah.
So, who's in a tube?
Right?
He's like, I'm a ghost and I'm a copy.
Okay, fair point. We're just throwing ideas out there.
No, there's no wrong ideas. There's no bad ideas.
No wrong. Yours
just
has
a bad
merit.
one.
Mine
Yeah.
has merit. I mean, it's...
That's so funny. I would prefer that Julian's mom is more so part of the Union. Like that's the way that this kind of feels, or maybe she's part of some resistance, that's able to hack in. But like the nanotech is something that I was really, really thinking about. Okay, so let's say, for instance, the biggest reason why Julian has lost all of his body parts is because he was attacked by the nanotech, and that's something that Dr. Weller kind of brings up early on in the season. So perhaps the nanotech itself like pulls a bit of your consciousness, or pulls like your, some part of you, and then stores it, and that's how they kind of created this. I would prefer that than this like red versus blue epsilon kind of crack. Like I don't want to see a repeat of that again.
Where Julian dies, and then eventually this robot has to learn to be Julian.
Exactly. I would much prefer a very original kind of like an original theory. Like I like it. I think that.
I forgot about the nanobots destroying him, so I like that idea. Anthony. I like it.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
I agree with that one. I'm hopping on that train.
I like that this show lets us do this. That we can sit there and we can talk about like just insane theories, and everything that we say has some water to it, like holds some water.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Everything we all say.
I was going to say, especially since, I have taken Anthony's mantle as man who predicts things that come true. Yep. And Kazu played the guitar this episode.
I was robbed.
I know. So now it's my turn. So next thing I got to do is come up to it. I predict Dr. Weller and the Colonel are going to have a romantic moment next episode.
I feel like that's left to interpretation. Kobe can say that they high-fived.
I don't know. Yeah.
He's like, see how sexually charged that was?
Fine, guys.
There was so much tension.
So back to the drawing board. Yeah. These theories are fun.
Yeah,
but does that take the theories are fun? It just gets to the end point. I think the end parts of these episodes are the best because then they warrant the discussion and get you excited for the next episode. And that's what a good show does. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering because it's like also then I go back to the beginning about with this, like Cammy's frustrations with the upgrading herself, and it's like, am I? And I'm criticizing that. I'm just like, am I watching the show wrong for wanting more out of the characters, or should I just sit back and these characters have cool designs and they have cool weapons, like, and there's awesome fight scenes with a good cliffhanger at the end. I mean, is it bad to ask for more, or should I just accept what we have and be happy?
See, like I'm kind of with Coby on this too. Like I'm going to lean into this just a little bit more though, Coby. Like I personally felt like this was the weakest episode of the season, and here's why. That personally, it's that scene where Cammy is like editing and everything else like that. I just felt like that was very poorly done, and it left too many unanswered questions, like that. And I felt like this. Aside from Michael B. Jordan's kind of lines that he delivers, like honestly, I felt like the dialogue was a little weak this episode too. I think that this one was literally just to show us like what the Union is capable of. Like that was kind of how I feel. But like in that sense, warranting discussion about fan theories by the end, absolutely, I love that. But like for me, like I just felt like this was a pretty weak episode, not to like downplay the rest of the season. And it's not like weak in the style of bad shows that we consistently watch on the anime dumpster dive. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's just I just felt like all of the other episodes do a more effective job of kind of displaying those plot devices and also explanation and dialogue. So
I would agree to an extent with both of you about how it seems like these characters should be more developed, and I will say that we are given like hints of all these characters' backstories, which would be really great for them to expand on. Such as, again, I think Yasmin has the potential to be one of the most interesting characters, being a former Union spy. Mm-hmm. But what I feel like we are getting is, and again, I cannot stress enough how not on board I was with this at early on, and now how it is my life and I am obsessed, is Julian and Miranda's relationship has become like Julian is developing with it, and we're getting more about Julian's backstory. And every time they are alone together and they are talking, I just want them to reconcile and have a close. I never feel satisfied when they are talking.
Yeah,
but I mean, like I feel like if they were able to apply what they're doing with Julian to the other characters, it would be really great. But the thing is, Julian's the main character, and so I think that's why he's getting the most attention right now. I don't know. Really, my only experience with TV shows is watching them, but I feel like that's a thing that they do with a lot of first seasons, is kind of really establish that main character and then kind of slow build the other characters into like later seasons. So I think that this season we're going to get a lot of Julian stuff. Like even if that robot is like a Julian like copy, or if that's the real Julian, or whatever theory comes true with that, I think that's going to be like the peak, and then we're going to get like in season 2 we'll get more of the other characters doing like missions without Julian, or without like where they only need two Holons to do something, or other stuff. I think right now is just to build the concept and make Julian interesting.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this first season is proof of concept in terms of look how awesome this show can be. We're setting the pieces here and go, and the second season is when we're really going to dive into the story that we want to tell about and dive into this battle. Because we're episode 5. I mean, we still don't really know. I guess it's a story choice to like not show the villain or to give the Union much of a personality besides, because then it's mysterious when it starts talking in Julian's voice, like, what is it? But to like still not know the motivations, to still not really know a lot of these side characters, I agree with you. I think this is a setup for laying the groundwork for future awesomeness, and I can get on board with that.
I can too. I like the idea of the like Coby, like you literally just said. I like the proof of concept idea. Like, honestly, that's kind of what it feels like, as well. I mean, if this building conflict that we never get to actually see, like a resolution to, small victories, but faced with insurmountable odds, where some sort of mech that can also control the nanobots. Like, I'm excited to see where all of these type of concepts, where they go and how far they actually push them. But to Jake's point too, like, I really and truly, I'm invested in these characters. So, like, I suppose, like, on that end, like, that's the hardest part that I have a hard time with. It's just like, I'm really invested in these characters. I just want to know so much more about them. And then we get like Julian and Miranda. Like, I love that. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, I want to know a little bit more about these characters.
I like Julian and Miranda. I've come on board too, but I didn't like their plot line in this episode where Miranda's trying to convince him to come back to the Vanguard, because on one level weird. It's like, aren't you one? It's like, it seems like the Vanguard is part of this. Like, you're working side by side. It's like you're kind of part of it. And how he's a tube man. Like and then just because. I liked them, but I didn't like their plot line in this episode in terms of come back to the Vanguard, maybe.
I do feel that Miranda has turned too quickly on welcoming him back. Like, it was kind of like the first few episodes with her, she was kind of like still not sure how she felt about his return, and then right here it's kind of like, come back to the Vanguard. You're needed. And then he does say very like good counterpoints, like saying like, no one's going to listen, no one's going to take orders from me because I'm a ghost, I'm a hologram. And she's like, but you can lead. And it's like, she's just like ignoring his points in a sense that she wants him back. And again, the Miranda Julian shipper that is inside me goes, she loves you, can't you see that? Meanwhile, the person who loves story inside of me goes, she did that really fast.
Yeah.
It's torn. It's two sides. You're like a Genlock compatible human and a robot. Two different warring sides struggling to be one.
This is what Genlock is.
This is what Genlock is.
Genlock is the memories we made along the way.
Oh my gosh.
Dr. Wells like, surprise!
How do I end this call? How do I hang up?
So any other hot takes?
Any hot takes or anything else you guys want?
Let's see. I'm going to jump the gun. I'm going to say next episode we're getting solid modification.
You think that we're getting the full robots?
Yeah, we got the taste, now we're getting the product.
Okay, so if they find the robot, Julian's going to be curious about where that robot comes from. Am I going to think that the reveal of the evil mom in next episode? No, I feel like they would save that for a season finale. I have no hot takes besides Dr. Weller and the General having a romantic moment and Dr. Weller being evil.
Okay.
I haven't mentioned that.
All right, I have Julian's mom being the villain constantly, but get ready for the hottest of takes. You guys are going to have to blow on this one before you take it.
Uh-oh.
I think they won this episode. Right? Nothing bad. They even beat up the big bad robot. Next episode, they're gonna lose. I'm doing a full 180 of what Anthony said. I think their prototype ones are getting destroyed, are getting messed up. I think Julian's gonna be too curious about that robot, and he's gonna act outside of like his leading role, and it's gonna get them all kind of flustered, and they're gonna get destroyed. Then episode 7 is going to be Cammy doing modifications for everyone, and then episode 8 we get full mods.
Jake hacked into my email. He hacked into my emails with Gray.
So I think that's
you're crazy.
If none of that happens and they do get full mods in episode 6, I called that in the beginning.
So you're covering all your bases.
That's very true. Yeah, Jake can't be wrong this next
It's like betting
episode.
everything in craps, right? You can't lose.
I think, okay. All right. My hot take is that what I kind of bet last one was that Cammy was going to go through some serious psychological stuff that's going to affect her. That didn't come to fruition. So I'm going to pivot and say Julian's seeing himself in the robot and all that stuff is going to throw his mind out of whack, and so he's not going to be able to work his robot properly. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so Anthony, you want to sign us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for listening, guys. You can find us down in the description below if you want to tweet at us for any Genlock related questions. I said it before. Come on, send them on over so that we can riff together and come up with our own hot takes. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss another Genlock review. And please leave those comments. We'd love to see them. As always, you can find Coby on over at the Nerd Blaze. Coby, what you guys doing over there?
We do weekly anime reviews. Right now we're reviewing Promised Neverland along with the podcast called Anime Ricochet, where two dudes who know nothing about sports review sports anime. So check us out too.
I just watched Baki, so I could listen to your guys' latest Anime Ricochet. I can tell you, and I can tell you right now, Baki is a fucking weird anime.
Yeah, it's so weird. Check out Baki. Check out Baki if you guys want too. Do that.
I've seen one. I've only seen one scene, and it was on a top 10 anime fights YouTube video that I just it just YouTube autoplayed, and it was number 10, and it was the weirdest fight I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a weird spoiler alert. It's not a sports anime, which we found out. So, but we reviewed it anyway.
All right, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week for another Genlock review and discussion.